It's safe to say 2020 been a tough year for everybody. Even the truth will tell you that. However, 2021 though, we on the verge to having an undisputed champion. We on the road to undisputed. Ever since the truth made his return to the ring against Danny Garcia, Manny Pacquiao shortly after requested the head of his promotion to make the Errol Spence fight happen. He stated he liked what he saw in Errol Spence. Errol Spence looked good, which means the exact opposite. Then PacMan followed up by claiming he has the fire to return in 2021 and he would like to fight Errol Spence next. Shortly after, Errol Spence responded to Manny Pacquiao request with a smiling emoji, because this is the main fight Errol Spence been dreaming about. This is a dream come true for Errol. Therefore, Errol Spence is very blessed to having Al Haymon as his manager, because Al Haymon makes dreams come true. On the other hand, as much as I'm happy for Errol, I know Terrence Crawford have to be devastated by the news, because Bob Arum could have made the Manny Pacquiao fight a reality for Terrence Crawford 5 years ago, when Pacquiao was still signed with Top Rank. However, Bob Arum elected not to do so because, according to Bob, he didn't want Terrence Crawford to hurt Pacquiao, because Pacquiao was supposedly old 5 years ago. I guess Bob Arum went from being a promoter that makes big fights happen, dream fights happen, to a safety manager. I mean, think about it, guys. While Al Haymon making dream fights become a reality, you have Bob Arum, on the other hand, making reality nothing but a dream. Terrence Crawford being with Top Rank been a whole big mess. I mean, Bob Arum will sell you a blank CD and tell you this is the greatest album of all time. Therefore, if you know better, do better. And the way Errol Spence's career is heading, he's about to count the ultimate cheddar if he does land a Manny Pacquiao fight. On the other hand, sadly for Crawford, he been told lies for the past 5 years. They've been feeding Bud nothing but lies, to which why the Manny Pacquiao fight didn't happen, so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, or at least the night, fool me one time, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. As far as Akhi, when it comes to Terrence Crawford, I'm not judging him based on his business status and his business mind. I'm judging him based on his performances in the ring. So if Crawford chooses to be loyal to an entity that's not being loyal to him, that's not telling him the truth, that tells him a different story every other day, then that's on Bud. However, everything I told you guys on a business level came to fruition. With that being stated, that's beside the point. The point is, Manny Pacquiao will receive the ultimate extra bonus points on his legacy if he does fight in Errol Spence, win, lose, or a draw. It's a win-win situation. Pacquiao will be a winner either way. Fighting the truth at 41 is beyond belief, to say the least. That being said, regardless of the reason why Manny Pacquiao wants the fight now, regardless if Errol Spence looked vulnerable, PacMan will get his credit either way. We just stating the facts, because at the end of the day, or at least the night, even a 70% Errol Spence beat Danny Garcia way better than Porter and Keith Thurman were able to at 100%. So it does not matter how Errol Spence looked. PacMan will still get his credit either way. I must emphasize this point, because for some odd reason, people thinking we making excuses when you guys should be worried about Manny Pacquiao. Because does PacMan present a challenge for Errol Spence? Absolutely. Pacquiao against anybody is a good fight. However, the million-dollar question, does Manny Pacquiao have the tools to solve the truth puzzle? In other words, what is Manny Pacquiao's chances against Errol Spence? The answer is slim and none. So if that's the case, Why is Manny Pacquiao all of a sudden, he came out of nowhere demanding this fight? Well, the answer is very simple. Errol Spence did look vulnerable. I told you guys, even though Errol Spence dominated Danny Garcia more than anybody have been able to throughout Danny's pro career, there were still moments during that Danny Garcia fight in which Errol Spence looked vulnerable. The reasons may vary to why Errol Spence looked the way he did, but the answers are unclear at this point in time, which I truly believe Manny Pacquiao saw the same thing, thus giving him the illusion he could capitalize on these vulnerabilities by Errol Spence if they are still there when they do meet in the ring. Furthermore, let's get straight to the business at hand. As far as the vulnerabilities Errol Spence showed in the Danny Garcia fight that gave Manny Pacquiao the confidence to demand the Errol Spence fight out of nowhere at this point in time. Now, the first thing I peeped during the Danny Garcia fight was obviously Errol Spence going from 100 miles per hour to 70 miles per hour. There was a shift in momentum between the 8th and the 9th round. Like I told you guys, Errol Spence was on the verge of stopping Danny Garcia. This looked like Mikey Garcia 2.0. And suddenly, Errol Spence backed off Danny Garcia. He started boxing instead of applying pressure, which was breaking Danny Garcia in the process. Now, Errol Spence attributed that to him gassing out. He actually admitted that right after the fight. Now, during the fight, Errol Spence had a great poker face, which you couldn't tell what was happening. However, after the fight, he did admit he gassed out, which that's normally not the case for Errol Spence. For the people that know the truth, Errol Spence usually gets stronger as the fight goes on, not the other way around. Even when Errol Spence was cutting corners, he still gets stronger as the fight goes on. He managed to drop Shawn Porter in the 11th round in a firefight, in a classic fight. He also knocked out Kell Brook, I believe, in the 11th round as well. That's always been the pattern of Errol Spence. However, to see him gassing out, that's unheard of. Now, it's one thing if Danny Garcia managed to hurt Errol Spence in the 8th round or did some serious damage in the 9th round, which made Errol Spence back off of him. Then that would have made sense. But for Errol Spence to put a beat down on Danny in the 8th round and just completely back off of him in the 9th round, that did open up a lot of questions. I actually peeped in the 5th round. Errol Spence was asking Derrick James, "What round is this?" And Derrick James responded by giving Errol Spence the wrong round. I'm not even sure if Derrick James knew what round it was. Or maybe Derrick James wanted Errol Spence to pick up the pace. Danny was coming off a good round in the 4th. That's why Derrick possibly told Errol that in the 5th. However, maybe Errol Spence picked up the pace faster than his body allowed him that night. Remember, Errol Spence doesn't just throw 100 punches around. On top of that, his style is also physically demanding. There's a lot of pushing going on in the inside. There's a lot of control taking place. So all of that required a lot of stamina. And therefore, if Errol Spence thought he was in the championship rounds already and come to find out he was still in the 9th round, that could take a toll on a fighter. Like I said, we truly don't know. There's a lot of elements that come into play. Only Errol Spence truly know how he felt. The second thing Manny Pacquiao possibly saw in Errol Spence was the body shots. How Danny Garcia was so effective going to Errol Spence's body. He was folding Errol Spence at times. I don't know if Errol Spence was bending down to avoid the body shots, or maybe that was the effect of the body shots by Danny Garcia, because he was throwing some sharp, accurate body shots on Errol Spence. So Manny "PacMan" Pacquiao, being a combination puncher, knowing that Errol Spence has a great defense, he most likely thinking to himself that he could get Errol Spence on the high guard, and if that's the case, he could easily go to the body. And if Errol Spence try to avoid the body shots, he could go back up top. So there's no telling how Manny Pacquiao is looking at Errol Spence performance against Danny Garcia. Another thing I noticed during the Danny Garcia fight, Errol Spence was reaching more than usual. And because of that, he was off balance due to that. Usually Errol Spence is always on balance. You never see Errol Spence off balance. However, against Danny Garcia, he was off balance a bunch of times because he was reaching. But unless you're a great counterpuncher to the body, then reaching doesn't really play a big role, because Manny "PacMan" Pacquiao himself is always reaching with his left hand. He always get away with it, or most of the time. I'm not going to say always, because that got him in trouble against Marquez, for example. But the main point is Pacquiao most of the time gets out of trouble with the flaws he makes in the ring because of his superior hand speed and foot speed with his in and out style. So when it comes to all of that, like I told you guys on my last video that I'm going to leave in the comment section below, Errol Spence attributes will nullify a lot of great things that Manny Pacquiao does. Errol Spence jab, height and reach, plus timing will nullify Manny Pacquiao's speed, for example. And also, the control of range by Errol Spence will nullify Manny Pacquiao's footwork, in my humble opinion. However, what will give Manny Pacquiao the most trouble is Errol Spence's inside game and the way he's able to bully fighters on the ropes, let alone a guy like Pacquiao who was bullied by Jeff Horn. You can just imagine what the truth will do to Pac-Man on the ropes or in the inside in general. However, last but not least, one thing that I didn't like the most during the Danny Garcia performance by Errol Spence is in the 11th round, at the last couple 10 seconds, Errol Spence turned his back away. I know his gum shield fell out, but Errol Spence should know at this level, as experienced as he is, you do not turn your back on your opponent, especially when he's coming at you. While you in the corner, you do not turn your back away. That's an absolute no. So I don't know what was going on with Errol Spence at that particular time. Even Derrick James got on Errol Spence like, this ain't a game. You do not play boxing. This ain't a game. Which Errol Spence came on sharp in the 12th round. However, that had me worried, to say the least, in the 11th round when Errol Spence turned his back. Danny Garcia was on his attack mode. What if Danny Garcia didn't stop and actually threw a punch that caught Errol Spence? The same way he did in the 2nd round when the bell rang and Errol Spence also turned away. We never seen this in the past from Errol Spence. He never loses focus. He's always on the tunnel vision in the ring. But against Danny Garcia, beside him gassing out, he was also losing focus, turning his back at dangerous points during the fight, which I have seen multiple fighters get knocked out while they turned their back away because their gum shield fell out. Jermell Charlo was able to do the same thing to an opponent of his, matter of fact. That's a mistake you cannot afford to make at this level, because if the referee didn't stop it or called for timeout, whatever takes place after that will be considered legit. You could ask Ortiz that. Same thing happened to him against Floyd Mayweather. So my point is, you do not make that mistake at this level. So I really hope that wasn't the effect of the accident. We truly won't find out till Errol Spence's next performance. I hope that was Errol Spence playing around. We truly won't know though till Errol Spence's next performance. That being stated, this might be why Manny Pacquiao is looking forward to fighting Errol Spence. In my book, as long as Errol Spence demand Olympic-style drug testing, then the truth should be A-OK. As long as Errol Spence doesn't make the one-time mistake Thurman made against Pac-Man, which was that, then he should be A-OK. The truth is here for a reason, not a short season. With that being stated, does any of my points that I brought up raise a concern? Or is Manny Pacquiao seeing the same thing both Danny and Mikey saw in Errol Spence. Subscribe below if you're trying to get smart about a minute. If you're trying to get dumb about a second, don't. I listen to these decaps, the dumb casual ass fans / old media that don't know shit about boxing. Word to Roger and Mayweather, may he rest in peace, inshallah. Shout out to my broski, my Akhi Dante, for being the entrepreneur of new media that I'm a part of. And if you're a casual fan and you want to be a hardcore, all you got to do is click on the notification bell to get notified every time I post or go live on Split Decision. It's a boxing debate / talk show, mixed, master, engineered, produced by yours truly, Akhi, the past, present, and future undisputed pound for pound when it comes to debating. I got these decaps shook, they're scared to look every time Akhi's on TV, because the truth is always bad news. For these decaps, the truth happened to be these decaps kryptonite. With that being stated, shout out to every single one of my Akhis. I've been humbled by all the love and support, and to be continued on the next episode of Akhi TV. Peace, and we out here.